to get started, and then I got started and had to stop and start over. So I'm hoping this episode, why am I say hoping? I don't know. I am hoping this episode goes better. All right. I'm waiting for YouTube to begin. There we go. Now I'm going to go over here to YouTube. Oh, I see the little notification. Oh, I'm going to click on the bell. Okay, good. All right. No, nothing bad. Okay. Thought someone was sending me you never know. You just never know. Whenever I see it on YouTube, I get nervous. But Theology Central, go here. All right. How do we sound? All right. Turn off live chat. That's off. We got that done. Now we'll go back over to sermon audio. We'll see how many people are currently listening or how many broadcasts are currently going on. Oh, hey, 1 hour and 22 minutes. Jason Cooley from Old Paths Baptist Church has been on. Now, the one thing you can say, he's intense. He covers a lot of different subjects, so you may want to jump in and see what he's talking about. We have a test stream going on. Mission Bible Church, they've been testing their live stream for 13 minutes. You may want to check and see what they are doing. That possibly means they're a new broadcaster. And anytime I see a new broadcaster showing up on the Sermon Audio platform, I always have a tendency to try to follow them immediately. Well, that's the thing. With Sermon Audio, you're not given the numbers. You don't know how many people are following you. You don't know how many people are using any of your content, other than you know how many people are listening. But yeah, there you go. Pleasant Home Community Church, they've been broadcasting for 27 minutes. And then Harbor City Baptist Church, they just went live about 50 something seconds ago. So there's the broadcasts that are currently underway. Why do I do that? Well, one, because I'm always looking just to see who else is broadcasting. But, to be fair, I do have a tendency to do this. Hey, there's all these other people broadcasting. Go listen to them. That's where you can. And I tell you that so that if you email me and go, I did not like that broadcast. Well, did you hear the pre-show? I gave you other options of things to listen to. You didn't have to listen to me. All right, but here we go. Let's see how we sound. How do we sound? And I tell you that so that. Okay, all right. We're good there. Now we'll go back here. I think the map is working today. It wasn't working at the beginning last time. By the time it was over, I saw that we had, I think, about 10 people listening, which is okay. So, all right. I don't know how to read the map right now. It just says 2 individuals from Texas, but I've clicked on the link, I think once. So I think that there's probably someone else in Texas listening. So I think it's me, myself, and I. Well, no, there's not 3 of us. It's just me and someone else in Texas listening as of right now. We'll give it a second here. All right, I think we're good. Where's my Canadian listeners? Come on, Canada. What happened? You only choose Canadians only listen to me about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. All right. Okay, well, I think we're good to go there. All right, let's get started. This is not going to be a pleasant episode, but that's okay. You ready? I'm going to crack my knuckles as if I'm getting ready to fight. Okay, no, I'm not getting ready to fight. I don't want this to act like, well, I just know I'm about to get myself in trouble here. I'm about to get myself in trouble, but that's okay. That's what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, probably shouldn't do it, but I don't have a filter. And since I don't have a filter, well, then you get the unfiltered whatever is here. And look, whatever happens in this episode, don't blame me. I received an email this morning with a link to the audio clip that's leading to this episode. I didn't come up with the audio clip. Someone sent it to me. And I think what they have a tendency to do, they gather the family around and they say, hey,
We got this audio clip. We're going to send it to that crazy guy on the Theology Central podcast, and we're going to put in a bet. We're going to have a family pool, and we're all going to bet how long it takes for him to lose his ever-living mind and destroy his entire podcast because we sent him something to bait him into losing his mind. I think that's what happens. All right, are you ready? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further delay, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective, this is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Now, see, this is when I'm supposed to say, good afternoon, but I don't think there's going to be anything good about what I'm about to do. I don't think there's going to be anything good and what's about to occur. I hope I can make it good, but I don't think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be controversial. People are going to be upset with me. People are going to be irritated with me. But let me state this right from the very start. I bear no responsibility for what's about to happen. I am an innocent bystander. I was minding my own business when someone out there in podcast listening land decided to send me an email with a link to a video clip. And they're like, what do you think about this video clip? They came across as so innocent, but I know what was really going on. I know. They made some kind of bet. Hey, let's send this video clip to this crazy guy on the Theology Central podcast, and then we'll see how long it takes before he loses his ever-living mind, has an emotional breakdown, and he probably will then say something stupid on the podcast. It will end his podcast, and we'll be rid of him forever. This is a conspiracy. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of hyperbole, but yes, most likely I'm going to make a lot of people mad here, but I'm going to do my very best. But I guess what I have to do first is I'm not going to say good afternoon. I'll say, welcome everyone. It is Monday, December the 29th, 2025. It is currently 3:24 p.m. I thought it was 2:24. I lost an hour somewhere. What happened? I lost an hour. It is 3:24 p.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio, located right here in Abilene, Texas. All right, now, I hate talking about politics. I really do. The whole political system to me is just, it's corrupt, it's disgusting, it's transactional, right? There's just so many things about it. I can't stand it. And especially from a theological perspective, I don't want politics anywhere near my theology. I don't want politics anywhere inside the church. I want it to stay outside the church. The church is about preaching Jesus Christ. It's about the gospel. It's about theology, church history, Bible study, Bible interpretation, hermeneutics. It's about that kind of thing. Once you bring politics into it, it's an absolute mess. And politics always corrupts theology. Politics always corrupts the gospel, Christianity. Once you just leave the door, you crack the door a little bit. As soon as politics just barely gets through the door, boom, it spreads like a virus and everything is corrupted and Christianity no longer is truly Christianity. It's this corrupted, mutated monster that may claim Christianity, but it's politics. And I cannot, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. You don't even know how much I hate it. And so I try to talk about the subject. What I typically do when I talk about the subject is I talk about how the church has been hijacked by it and corrupted by it. That's what I try to do. I try to stay out of the rest because there's nothing worse than you want to talk about theology or doctrine or church history or things along that line. But the minute, especially in our climate today, especially in Christianity, if you say the wrong thing about someone's perceived or their favorite political party, their favorite political candidate, you say the wrong thing, they will be done with you. They will not listen to you. They will throw you to the curb. And if you're a pastor, you're probably going to be done because they're going to leave your church. People are more loyal. I think there's a lot of truth to this. I think many in the church are more loyal to a political party and a political ideology and a political candidate than they are loyal to Jesus Christ theology or the Bible. They will deny that all day long, but I'm sorry. They are more loyal to that than they are to theology. Because if they were more loyal to theology, more loyal to the Bible, and more loyal to Christianity, they would not be defending, justifying, and supporting that which is in opposition to it. But for some weird reason, you're not allowed to say that. But here I am. I don't want to talk about this. I don't. I mean, I've got other things to do, right? I would have more fun moving on to the next track of the Taylor Swift album that we are working through to end 2025. That would be more fun. You may say it's, well, that's irrelevant and that's a waste of time. I will say, considering how many billions of streams and downloads her album has received, it's pretty relevant. But sometimes you got to talk about what's unpleasant. Because, well, your listener sends you a link and says, what do you think about this? I guess I could email them back and try to articulate everything. But by the time I'm done typing that all out, trying to make sure it's even remotely grammatically correct, I could have already recorded 4 different broadcasts. So I'm going to respond this way. So to the person who sent me the link, this is what you get. And, well, you can't throw a fit. I don't know if they're going to agree with me or disagree with me. But here we go. So first we go to the clip. Now remember, it was a video clip. It was an Instagram reel. I took the Instagram reel, converted it to MP3, downloaded the audio, then uploaded the audio to my studio software. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to listen to it. All right. Now, immediately, one of the things I will say, Instagram Reels or TikToks, they typically, are short, especially TikToks. 5 minutes, I think that's the limit, whatever it is. I think you can make them a little longer. There's different ways of doing it, but typically they're very short form responses, or we can call them short form hot takes. I am not a fan of short-term short-term hot takes or short and length hot takes. Or short hot takes, we can call it that, right? Whatever the technical term you want to use. I hate that because whatever the issue is, whenever you give a hot take on something, and if it's short, like a 5-minute TikTok, I know people love that, right? Because it'll get posted on social media and like, ooh, yeah. But I feel that whatever subject you're trying to talk about, if you go with this kind of short form hot take, you're not doing justice to the subject because subjects there's layers. There's so much to try to take apart. There's so many different perspectives and different elements to it. So anytime someone sends me a TikTok or an Instagram reel, anything that's a short hot take, I tend to go, oh man, here we go. Because I know that even if I agree with it, I want to make sure this is very clear. Even if a short hot take is something that would be in line with my way of thinking, my ideology, my theology, whatever, I always know did that really do justice to the topic? Is it adequate enough? Can you really address things in a short form way? I don't know if you can. Because I'm just not a fan of it. And I know what you're saying. It's because you can't say anything in 5 minutes because you have to go 1 hour and 35 minutes talking about the weather. Okay, I know that. But maybe it's because I have this, I'm not going to say a mental block, but it's just to me, it's like, well, if I say this, well, what about this and what about this? And if I say this, well, what about this and what about this? And if I say this, don't I have to justify it? Don't I have to prove it? Well, then how do I do that? Well, what about this and what about that? And it just, one thing leads to another thing, which leads to another thing, which turns into an hour, which then turns into 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 5 episodes. And so I just can't think that way. I don't like, well, they used to be called tweets, whatever they're called, and X now, whatever. Whenever someone posts something short on social media, it may sound cool, it may be pithy, it may hit hard, but is it even being fair to the topic? I mean, name a topic that you can just throw out a quick response to. Everything requires time and depth and considering all the different perspectives. So I'm going to go into this knowing that this is a short, kind of hot take. But then you know what I'm going to do? We're going to come out of it. I'll give some brief comments, and then boom, I'm going to go in and we're going to have a lengthy discussion. And hopefully by the time it's done, you can agree or disagree. Are you ready? So here we go. My intro is longer than a TikTok, all right? First, the audio clip. Here we go.
One of the questions I get over and over again is how these pastors, mostly white, mostly conservative, refuse to utter one single negative word about Trump, even when he's running cover for pedophiles. And the answer is actually pretty simple. If you as a pastor need warm bodies, you need them, not them needing you. If you need warm bodies to fill your pews so they can give their tithe, so you can pay your salary and the mortgage on the church, so that you can keep the nonprofit entity that you have built humming along with no interruptions, it is very hard to preach the unadulterated gospel of Jesus Christ. You sure aren't going to call out Trump for being reverse Robin Hood and stealing from the poor to give to the rich. Because what would happen? All those warm bodies would go and find another pew elsewhere. And so you're trapped. And that is why they will never speak out against Trump. And that is also why the institutional church in America is broken beyond repair. And until we realize that we are the church, the people, not the building, not the service, the people, we will always be stuck in this broken cycle of spineless preachers telling us what we want to hear rather than what we need to hear.
Okay, now there's a lot going on. Now he mentions Trump. Now, and the minute he mentions Trump, trigger warning, people are going to lose their mind. And it's true that within conservative evangelical fundamentalism, if I say anything negative about Trump, people are going to get mad. They're not going to listen to me anymore. And I'm liberal and I'm woke and I'm a Satanist and I'm everything else. I'll be every negative thing you can say, because within Christianity, how dare you talk about the Lord and Savior Trump? Because you can't say anything about him negatively without someone getting mad. There is a lot of truth to that. But before we talk about Trump, before we talk about politics, we do have to talk about something mentioned in that audio clip that I think is even a bigger issue, and that is churches need warm bodies sitting in the pew, because warm bodies sitting in the pew give money. And you need that money in order to pay the church's mortgage, to pay salaries, to keep the electricity running, to do any marketing, any advertising, to do any ministry where you're going to be doing things online or buying curriculum. You need money. I hate that about ministry, but it's just true. It's true. You need money. It costs money for me to do what I'm doing right now, to be able to broadcast this live on Church One, Sermon Audio, TheologyCentral.net, YouTube, all the different places we're broadcasting live. It costs me $60 a month just to do that. My podcast hosting site, to be able to send it to all the Sirius XM and all the other places we send it out, that costs over $20 a month. To have our pod page, that's about $25 a month. It costs money. I hate that. I literally hate that. And you know what? It is absolutely true that you need warm bodies. Now, and for this particular case, I don't need them sitting in a pew, but I need warm bodies listening to me who are then willing to give so that I have the money to be able to do this. And churches need even more money. It doesn't take a lot to keep a podcast operating. Now, if the podcaster wants to make money, he needs more. But if he's just willing to broadcast without making any money or getting paid, well, then he at least needs enough money to cover the expenses, unless he's going to pay for himself to be able to broadcast. But churches, they need an astronomical amount of money. You take just a decent sized church. How much does it cost to cool and heat that thing, to keep the lights on? Do you have insurance on the building? How much is that per month? right? Just the upkeep of the building. Is the building paid for? If not, you have a mortgage payment. How much is the mortgage payment? How much is the insurance on the building? How much is the electricity? Trash pickup. It's crazy things. And then if you're going to have any programs at Sunday school or anything, and you're going to have any curriculum, how much does the curriculum cost? Are you going to put advertisements anywhere for the church? Are you going to be online? And salaries? Before you know it, you're over who knows? Who knows how much per month? You're in the thousands upon thousands per month. Probably in a year, you're probably over $100,000 just to keep the church operating. Well, what do you need? You got to have warm bodies. How do you keep warm bodies? I hate this. The only way to keep warm bodies is you have to keep them happy. You've got to continue to please them. It's a never-ending cycle. You got to keep the people happy. Now, the people will say, just let me have it, Pastor. Step on my toes. Now, you mean that until I step on the toe just the wrong way. And then you're going to take your toes and you're going to go take them to another church and sit until they do something you don't like. It's a game, and the people in the pew know they have the power. You do what I say or I'm leaving. Now, they don't say it that way, but it's always subtle, right? Oh, I used to love it. It's Monday. The phone would ring. Hello? Hey, Pastor, I need to talk to you. Oh, yeah, I bet you do. It's Monday. Let me guess. I never say that, but I'm like, okay, can we meet somewhere? Yeah, okay. All right. Now, sometimes they would do it over the phone. Typically, you go meet somewhere. And inevitably, what's the bait? If you strip down the conversation, I don't like this. And it's almost alluded to, if this, I'm thinking about possibly leaving. And there's the threat. There's the threat. Why? They know when they leave, they're taking their money. And if the church is small enough, that one family could be the downfall of the entire church. One family leaving a church can be the downfall of a church, depending on how much they give. And they know how much they give. They know how much leverage they have. And it's such a game. And so what I typically would say is, okay, well, let me just ask you, if I do what you're asking, what about the people across from you who sit right in front of you or sit behind you? What if they don't like what you want me to do? And then they always say, well, I'm not telling you what to do. Or you're not. And then guess what? When you don't do what they supposedly weren't telling you to do, inevitably, guess what happens? They're gone in a month. Oh, I thought you weren't telling me what to do. I thought you weren't making a threat. But you didn't get what you want, so you left. Imagine that. And they take their money and they give it to someone else. That's the broken part of the system, is that the system requires money, and money requires people, and people, no matter how godly they claim to be, in their heart of hearts, they're just as much as a sinner as me sitting in front of this microphone. And guess what sin does? It makes it about us. It makes us selfish. So we get what we want. Church is very transactional, right? I will show up, Pastor. I will support you. I will give money. But the minute I don't get what I want, I don't get it the way I want it, when I want it, at the tone I want it, with the attitude I want, I am stinking leaving you so fast. It's transactional. I give money and my support if you give me what I want. If you don't, I leave you. Now, I'm not saying every single church member operates that way. Many are very compassionate, merciful, graceful. All the people that were left at Victory Baptist Church before we sold the building, those people demonstrated love, grace, and mercy to me, forgave me for failure, stood by me, even when they disagreed with me at times. They let me teach and challenge and do theology. They did. But guess what? It was a small number left. Everyone else had long gone. So you can have a small number. Now, that small number can work to a certain degree, but to keep a building operating, that number, it's very, you will go from you can pay the bills to you can't pay the bills really quick once that number starts dwindling. There is a limit. And everyone knows that. So I agree with him that churches need warm bodies because warm bodies give money, and without money, the church doesn't operate. So you got to keep the system humming. I do agree with that. Now, he argues that that's the reason pastors will not speak out against Trump. They will not speak out against Trump because they need warm bodies to give money to keep the thing operating. Now, this is the problem with short, hot takes. That is an oversimplification all day long. If you think it's that simple, you're out of your ever-living mind. It's much more complicated than that. Now, it is true in general that churches need money, but that deals with every topic. Every issue in the church is going to be impacted by we need people because people give money and we need them there. And not only that, you got to have people showing up for a service, or guess what happens to your service? Well, your Sunday night service gets canceled, or your Wednesday night goes away because nobody will show up. So you got to have people there. So is it just about money? We're going to step back. Now we're going to bring in Trump. All right. Come in, President Trump. All right. Have a seat. Here's President Trump, everyone. Everyone see? All right. Now, why is it that many in the pulpit won't say one negative thing about him? What is the deal? Well, number one, many conservative, white, evangelical pastors and fundamentalists, well, guess what? They don't speak against Trump because they support Trump. They make excuses for his behavior. They may even celebrate his behavior and his words. They may even mimic his words and his attitudes. They just support him. It's that simple. They just support him. No matter what he does, no matter what he says, they will find a way to defend it and support him because they have become, well, we'll just talk about that. Well, I'll try to go through all of these and we'll put it all together, all right? Because I don't want to be repetitive in some of these points. But let's just make it very clear. 80 to 90% of white evangelical churches in the pew and in the pulpit support Donald Trump. That's just a fact. You don't support Donald Trump, I'm sorry, you're pretty much at the minority because 80 to 90% of white evangelicals think Trump is great. Now they'll say, well, I don't always support his behavior. Yeah, you say that, but you're very silent about it, and you seem to continue to defend him, and you're definitely going to show up and vote for him, which is somewhat kind of weird. Because it was Christians who used to say, character matters. Sin is a reproach to this nation, and we need leaders who are godly and who are moral and hold family values and have ethics. And we can't have some vile person like Bill Clinton in office because it's a disgrace to this nation and it will bring the judgment of God upon America. We need godly leaders. We need men of God who... And then all of a sudden Trump comes along. We're like, well, not really. Not really. Not really. We don't care about any of that. He can say and do whatever, and he's got my vote and he's got my support. And then God can use someone who's ungodly. Well, why weren't you saying that when Bill Clinton was in office? Now, what some say, well, I don't support his attitude and character. I just support his policies. They make every excuse in the world. The bottom line is, a lot of reason pastors are not speaking out against Trump, it's not because they're worried about money. It's not even worried about numbers. They support him. End of story. Now, there's a deeper question. Why would they support him? Now, that's a deeper question. That one's far more complex, and that cannot be tackled in a short form setting. And so we will talk about that here in a minute. So that's number one. Much of the church supports Trump. So they're not going to speak out against him, not because they're fear of losing money. It's because they're not going to go against the person they voted for, they supported, and the one they basically told their church members to vote for. Even if they didn't say it explicitly, it was very clear in the church, that's who you vote for. And everyone in the church caught on. I mean, in many churches, you should just walk in and everyone should just have a red hat on with a Trump flag on the platform. So that's the first reason, I think, why a lot of pastors did not speak out. A second, hey, I mean, this is not new. This is not a newsflash. The church, the white evangelical fundamentalist church in America, is completely and absolutely politically hijacked. The politicians have breached the cabin door. They've drugged the theology, scripture, and Jesus out of the pilot seat, and the politicians are driving the plane. The church is not driven by Jesus. The church is not driven by theology. It's driven by political affiliation. So the church has a tendency to see things more politically than it does theologically. So when the church is politically hijacked, they think conservative means conservative politically, not conservative theologically. Liberal, they don't care about liberal theology. They care about liberal politics. And so because they are so politically hijacked, they see everything in a political perspective. What matters? Owning the libs, making them pay, getting them out of office. Come on, it's about conservatism. It's about Republicans. It's about winning the political battle. So when you're so politically hijacked and all you want to do is win a political battle and you think that political battle means getting rid of the liberals, well, then why are you going to speak out against Trump? See, they're not looking at it from a moral standpoint, an ethical standpoint, a scriptural standpoint, a theological standpoint. They just see it from a political standpoint. Trump is on our team because he supposedly is a Republican, is supposedly conservative, and he wants to own the libs, and he gives you all of those, phrases that he'll say at one of his rallies that gets the base all fired up. Yeah, get those liberals. Yeah, throw them all in jail. Lock her up. Yeah, throw those illegal aliens out of the country. Yeah, all that stuff. And the church doesn't care anything about what it sounds like biblically, theologically. They don't even care how it impacts our witness. We just want to win the political battle. That's because the church is so politically hijacked, completely politically compromised and corrupted. Well, then it's done. Why would you expect then the pastors to speak against Trump? Because they not only support him, they're so politically hijacked, they see things from a political standpoint before they see it from a biblical or theological standpoint. Because if they were looking at things from a biblical and theological standpoint, I think they'd be like, wait a minute here. This doesn't... You would stop and go, how does the world perceive what we're doing? Because aren't we supposed to be a light? Right? We want to shine our light before the lost world. We want to be a testimony. We want to be a witness. We don't care about being a testimony and a witness. We just want to beat the liberals. But if we thought about it, we'd like, wait a minute. And that's why the world has written so many articles and said so many times, what is the church doing? The church used to be about morality and godliness and not paying a porn star and not like all the different things Trump has been involved in. Most would say, we tend to say, this is what we tell our kids, you can't hang out with those kids because bad company corrupts good morals, and you got to be careful about who you hang out with because it can corrupt your reputation. But then the church is like, hey, Trump, we're going to connect ourselves to you because you're wonderful, and we're going to wear a red hat, and you can say the most outlandish, ungodly things in the world. You can be guilty of who knows what, and we're going to defend you. Hey, kids, no, you can't hang out with those kids. They're bad. So on one hand, we talk about, make sure we maintain a good witness and avoid even the appearance of impropriety and do not be connected to the works of darkness. But when it comes to Trump, all is good. Why? Because you're so politically hijacked. You don't even care about it from a biblical standpoint. And the world looks at the church and is like, what is wrong with these people? They've lost their ever-living mind. They can support the man who says these horrible things. And then the church, well, we're not trying to elect a pastor. Well, the thing is, you're confusing the world. So what's more important to you? See, and this is what it comes down to. This is how you know the church is so politically hijacked. What's more important to you? Being a godly witness to the world or winning a political battle? And you know what the church is saying? The political battle means more than trying to reach some stupid person with the stupid gospel that we no longer care about because all we care about is owning the libs. It's become just ridiculous. So why are pastors not speaking out? It's not because of money. They support Trump and they're politically hijacked. A third reason is the church woke up one day and they looked at the world and they're like, "Oh no, they don't act like Christians anymore. They don't talk like Christians anymore. They support things like LGBTQ and they disagree with us on abortion and they don't agree with us here and they don't agree with us here. Oh no, the world is becoming very ungodly." Oh, shocking. I know. The world doesn't seem to love God. Oh, I know. Shocking. I know. So what are we going to do? These liberals, these are the witches of Salem. What are we going to do? Well, you know what they did in Salem? It wasn't about evangelizing them. It wasn't about preaching to them. It was about putting a rope around their neck and killing them. Well, we just want to win the battle. So we're going to look for political solutions. Forget prayer, fasting, preaching, revival, witnessing, loving your enemy, turning the other cheek, loving your neighbor, about being a light in the midst of darkness. No, 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 no. Bring in Trump, own the libs. That's what it turned into. The church decided political solution was far more expedient and effective than this nonsense of spiritual prayer and fasting and sacrificing and loving an enemy and turning the other cheek and suffering godly under persecution. No, no, no. We're going to end persecution. We'll persecute them. We'll throw them in jail before they can throw us in jail. We'll shut them down. We'll ban their books. We'll silence them. Because we want a political victory more than we want a spiritual solution. And so when the church wants political solutions and not spiritual solutions, why are they going to speak out against Trump? Trump is supposedly the Christian hero, the Christian deliverer. So why? It's the church not speaking against Trump. I don't think it has anything to do with money. The money problem is a big issue, but I think it's because many conservative pastors support Trump. The church has become so politically hijacked. They see everything from a political point of view, and they want political solutions versus a spiritual solution that you may not see the results. I think another thing, and this is more positive, I think many pastors, and I think this is fair, I remember when I go through these, not every single point applies to every single pastor, but I think some pastors just look and go, "Man, what do I do here?" The church can get divided over anything. The church can get divided over the color of the carpet, over the songs you sing. Do we put a drum set on the platform? Do we use an acoustic guitar? Do we use an electric guitar? Do we have lighting? Do we not have lighting? The church can get, do we have this program? Do we not have this program? The church can get divided over the most minute and stupid things. Do you really want to bring politics into the pulpit, whether pro-Trump or against Trump, whether pro-Republican or against Republican? Because if you do, you inevitably are going to cause division. Do you want to divide the church over politics, or do you simply want to try to bring the church to unity over theological and doctrinal truth? Do you want to sacrifice the unity about doctrine and theology at the expense of talking about politics from any perspective, pro or against? I think many pastors are like, you know what? I'm just going to avoid it. There's nothing good that's going to come out of it. It's not going to make anyone more spiritual. It's not going to make anyone more godly. It may get we may get to go viral. We may create some massive download numbers, but we may end up losing half the congregation. And I'm not saying they're sitting there just thinking about money. No. I think that many of them are just like, I don't want to destroy the church over this. And I think it's a calculated decision. And I'm not going to accuse those pastors of doing anything wrong. That's hard to know what to do. Look, I know, man, I mean, again, as many of you know, we've talked about it. Victory Baptist Church, the building closed. We sold the building, what was it, last Friday? I can't remember which day it was. And it's over. It's gone. There's no more Victory Baptist Church. It's done, right? we're going to be wrapping everything up and closing the account. I'll give an entire podcast episode when that happens. But I can look back. We met at the church. Everybody stood in kind of a semicircle, and we kind of talked about memories, and it was an emotional thing. And, I know I did a lot of things that I did them wrong if I wanted the church to succeed. If I would not have talked about it this way, or maybe if I wouldn't have done theology, I simply would have taught theology. Maybe if I would have just stuck with a theological team, never challenged it, never questioned it, just stayed, true and loyal to a theological team, I would have probably not lost as many people as I lost. We would have kept the numbers just enough to keep the building operating, to keep everything going financially. We wouldn't have had a lot of money, but we would have had enough, and we would still be operating today. But I did not do that. And do you think I sometimes don't regret it? Do you think I sometimes don't feel like a complete and total failure? I feel like a failure 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, about a million things in my life. Because in life, you only get one chance, and you mess up, you pay consequences. There is no forgiveness. There is no mercy in life. You must be perfect. If you don't, you suffer consequences. And I made decisions that, did not go well. I had failure, and there's no excuse for failure. And then it was just some cases choices. Now, in some cases, I will defend some of those choices because I believe the church needed to be a place where you could do theology and challenge things and not just stay true to a theological team. Show loyalty to the text, not to MacArthur. Show loyalty to the text, not Reformed theology. Show loyalty to the text with or without offense to friend or foe. Who cares who gets upset and who cares who goes? Now, see, I can talk a big game, but when you're finally standing in an empty sanctuary saying goodbye to everyone, it's the end of the church, you kind of realize, man, that big game cost me a lot. So I can understand when a pastor's like, is it worth it? Is it worth me standing in the empty sanctuary saying goodbye to everyone because I destroyed the church because I wanted to talk about these things? Sometimes I don't know if it's worth it. You can say that those weakless, spineless pastors, I think pastors just trying to figure out what battle am I going to fight? I would rather fight a theological battle, a doctrinal battle, a scriptural battle, than to get into some political battle about whether what Trump said or did is good or bad. He's going to be gone and we're going to move on. Now, sometimes it can be frustrating when you hear people in the church say just ridiculous things. They believe ridiculous things because Trump said them. They sound like that they spend most of their life watching Fox News instead of reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they have conspiratorial ideas, and it's just misinformation. It's just, you want to scream your head off. But when do you fight that? I don't know. So I'm going to say some pastors, I'm not going to call them weak. I'm going to say they're just struggling and knowing what to do. And then lastly, why do some pastors not speak out about Trump and politics? Well, it is money and numbers. Now, you can talk a big game and call them spineless and call them cowards. And it's easy to stand online and condemn pastors for worrying about money and numbers. It is. It's easy to do so. And it's always been somewhat easy for me because I've never really needed the church that much for money, right? I was bivocational. I didn't take a dime for years and years and years and years. And then the church decided to start paying my housing payment. Now, once they started paying my housing payment, well, I knew, okay, I'm not taking any other money, but I got to, if we lose too many people, they're not going to make my housing payment. That could be majorly financially, that could cause some upheaval in my life. What do I do? So there were times I was a little bit more concerned, but now for me, I couldn't stop myself. I still was stupid and I still drove away people I shouldn't. If I would have just shut up and just stayed coloring within the lines, they would still be there. Instead of questioning lordship salvation, if I'd have just stuck with it, forget law and gospel distinction, I wouldn't have lost people. So I understand when you say, well, pastors shouldn't worry about that. Well, you talk a big game. Are you telling me in your job There's times you want to gripe or you want to speak up and you want to say something, and instead you bite your tongue. You go through the day, you get in your car, you drive home, you walk through the door, and then you vent and yell and gripe about everything going on in your job because you can't say it at work because you don't want to get fired. And why do you not want to get fired? Let me guess, because you need a paycheck. So you can condemn pastors for doing it for money. I'm sorry, they got to get paid. They got a family to support. They got bills to pay. What do you want the pastor to do? Live in a tent under a bridge? People love to, pastors just in it for money. Well, what do you want them to do? Well, they could go get another job. I love how church members talk such a big game. Well, they could be bivocational. Have you ever been a bivocational pastor? If you haven't, then I would ask you, in a polite way, shut up. I know what it's like. Full-time in the military, working 40, 50 hours a week, sometimes more depending on what was going on. Yet, I was preaching Sunday school for 1 hour, Sunday morning for 1 hour, Sunday night for 1 hour, Wednesday night for 1 hour, 10, 12 hours prep for each hour of teaching. You figure how many hours that is. Full-time pastor, full-time employment, plus, in many cases, a full-time student trying to go to school so I could be a better pastor. Oh, did it matter? No, people still left the church. They don't care how much you pour in. They don't care. But you know what that did? The only good thing, all I can look back at that time is I was a garbage father, garbage husband, garbage everything. And I took great pride in how many hours I was working and how little I was sleeping. I took great pride in that, which was stupid. It wasn't a sign that I was spiritual. It wasn't a sign that I was godly. It was a sign that I was stupid. But people are like, that's what a pastor should do. Yeah, you try it. Working 80, 90, 100 hours a week. So I don't need the money of the church. But that gave me freedom to say what I wanted to say. Yeah. So I don't know what people want pastors to do. You want them to speak up. Here's a novel idea. Instead of saying pastors are weak and spineless, how come we never put the emphasis back on the people in the pew who won't support their pastor and won't stay in a place where they're challenged and they only want to go where they'll hear what they want to hear and what they agree with? Maybe we talk about the people in the pew. Now, I will get very frustrated with a system, but at the same time, I can't condemn people who are like, what am I going to do? Can you imagine a pastor with a wife and 2 kids? In many cases, living maybe in a church parsonage where if they get fired, they lose their housing immediately. In many cases, the church may be even providing a car. So maybe their car, their housing, and if they do have any medical insurance, that may be coming through the church as well. They lose their job. They lose everything. Hey, little Johnny and little Susie, Dad needs to talk to you. We're not going to be living here anymore. We no longer have a house. We no longer have a car. We no longer have medical insurance because Daddy wanted to speak up and say things that the church needed to hear. But Daddy can't say what the church needs to hear because the church is a bunch of selfish jerks who will throw you out if you don't do what they tell you to do. And I know that from Christian radio. I got thrown off Christian radio because I said something that was going to offend a few people. How about Christianity's unwillingness to just will throw people to the curb? Now, again, for me, overall, I ended my ministerial career standing in a semicircle with people who did support me, who didn't always agree with me, who didn't always like what I said, didn't always like what I was covering, didn't always like what I was doing, but they allowed me to be me. And they still supported me financially so that my house could be paid for. And then they supported me at the end. They're going to use the sale of the church to try to pay off my mortgage. I will forever be grateful that I got to experience that. But I also got to experience the phone calls and the people basically leaving and then leaving you just with, okay, well, that's great. And so then you have to go, well, what do I have to do? And so I do understand that we can condemn pastors for being cowards, for not speaking up, because all they care about is money. But I don't know what you want them to do. They need to be above it. They need to be above. Well, you be above money. If you talk such a big game, You won't risk your job. You know you won't. How many times will you not say something or not do something because you know you're going to get fired? Why? Because you got to pay the bills. I hate that the church sometimes operates in such a fleshly way, but it does. The people know they give money and they own the pastor. They own him. What is the pastor supposed to do? Now, the only way to work around that is you're in some kind of denominational situation where the denomination says, that's your pastor, get over it. And if you don't like it, well, leave. But the denomination is still going to pay him because the salary comes from the denomination and not the local congregation, unless you set up a system like that. It's a difficult situation. So those are a lot of reasons why pastors don't speak up. But I think now I'm going to go at this from a different direction and try to wrap this up. Okay, this may take a little bit, but I'm going to try to go fast. I think it's 100% biblically sound to say that Donald Trump has repeatedly spoken and acted in ways that stand in direct contradiction to core Christian moral and ethical teachings, specifically those that are articulated by Jesus and the apostles. There is no way to get around it. The world even knows this. That's the hero of Christianity, this man who does everything that's complete in opposition to the teachings of Jesus and the apostles. Come on. I mean, Scripture consistently condemns pride and self-exaltation. Trump exalts himself in every chance he can get. He would build a statue 100 feet high and make you bow before it if he could. It's pride and self-exaltation all the time. Falsehood and deception. The man lies so much, I can't even keep up. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Constantly saying ridiculous lies and misinformation. The election was stolen. No matter how much information comes out to tell the man he's a liar, it's the church that will continue to support his pride, his self-exaltation, and the church will defend his lies and repeat the lies. His cruel speech and contempt for other people. He has said horrible things about people, horrible things, cruel things. He's like a schoolyard bully, and the church cheers him on. Instead of standing up to the bully, saying, no, stop it. Stop acting like this. Act like a grown-up. Stop acting like a junior high bully. No, not the church. They're going to support the bully because the bully's on their side. He has this love of power and love of domination and having dominion over his enemies and wanting to destroy them, lock them up. He boasts in his strength and his wealth and his status. All of that is completely opposite and condemned by everything in Scripture. And if you measure Trump against those categories, if you look at his own words, his own posture, his own public conduct, it openly defies Christian ethics. He doesn't just fall short of them, he defies them. He's the opposite of them. He spits in the face of Christian ethics. Love your enemy, turn the other cheek, everything. No, it's completely, it's messed up. And nothing I just said is controversial from a biblical standpoint. That's just straightforward, basic Christianity can go, man, that's not right. So then the question really is, I don't even think the issue is about Trump. To me, the issue is how Christians speak about Trump. To me, what is biblically indefensible is when Christians, they portray Trump as somehow morally virtuous. They minimize and excuse his sin for their supposed political gain. They redefine Christian virtues to somehow match Trump's behavior. They call obvious vice strength or boldness. And they treat any criticism of Trump as persecution. Or, I don't know, reality. And I think this is where the church, in many cases, has crossed from discernment. They've thrown discernment out, but they've turned it into idolatry of power. And at that point, Christianity isn't just being contradicted, it's being reconstructed to fit the image of Trump. And Scripture would condemn that all day long. We don't fit Christianity and turn it into the image of Trump. Trump is nothing to do with Christianity. We should be completely opposite to him. So then we are left with a question. Why do so many Christians, why does the church somehow support Trump in such large numbers? Now, I don't think there's a single cause. I think it's a convergence of theological, historical, psychological, and institutional factors. And I think together, if you put them all together, maybe they explain why I think you have somewhere between 85 to around 92% of white evangelicals. They remain silent, they defend, and they actively support Donald Trump. And it's the most bizarre thing I have ever seen. Someone who so absolutely defies everything Christianity stands for, yet 85 to 92% of Christians are like, go Trump, go Trump, go Trump. Let me give you my vote. If I could, I would vote 7 times for you because I need Trump. Then if you dare criticize him, oh, how dare you, you ungodly heathen. Oh, I'm the ungodly heathen, not Trump. But I am. I got it. Because how dare I speak, blasphemy by saying anything negative of the one Lord Trump, because we almost treat him as if he's Jesus. Now, I know Christians will say, no, we don't. Come on, give me a break. So why is the church so silent? I think, again, it's a convergence of factors. So you're ready to go through these relatively quick? I'm going to try to walk through the main reasons. I'm going to try to be clear and honest as possible. 1, I think fear replaced theology. Fear replaced theology. For many evangelicals, politics became defensive long before Trump came down the golden escalator to save us all. What happened? Here was our fears. Christianity began to fear we're losing our cultural dominance. Christianity is being marginalized. Oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, we're facing some legal pushback and pressure maybe on churches and schools and our beliefs. What are we going to do? They won't let us pray in public school. They won't let us do this. Wait, look around us. There's moral chaos. People in the world have different views on sexuality now, different views about gender, different views about abortion. Oh, no. We're in moral chaos. What are we going to do? And guess what? When people fear, they will put a rope around an innocent girl's neck and hang her, all in the name of Jesus. That's why I constantly relate things to the Salem witch trials, because that's exactly what happened. You just create fear and the church will support murder. Now, when Trump came down that escalator, he didn't create those fears, but he was like, oh, baby, I can weaponize those fears. And if I weaponize the fears, I'll get all those religious people to vote for me. Even though I'm not very religious and I'm the opposite of everything the religion stands for, it doesn't matter. I just use their fears. They will line up to vote for me. And when fear dominates moral evaluation, we're going to set that aside. Who cares? I don't care. I'm not going to evaluate Trump from a moral standpoint. Character no longer matters. Godliness no longer matters. Is he going to stop these things that I fear so much? They have books in the library that I don't agree with. Oh no. What am I going to do? Some parents even let their kids read those books. Oh no, there's parents out there who will take their kids to a drag show. Oh no, we got to stop it. We're going to tell everyone what to do. So I don't care if Trump's immoral. I want Trump to stop the immorality that I perceive to be immoral, and I'm going to take away anyone else's right to do anything that I think is immoral. So then we start with the ends justify the means. That starts taking over. When fear dominates, the end justifies the means. I don't care how we get there. We just got to get there as fast as we can. Okay, I'm quoting a song. All right. And then silence becomes a survival strategy. Shh. Look, guys, here, come on. All right, you look over there. You see that guy coming down the escalator? His name's Trump. He's messed up, okay? He's out of his ever-living mind. He's a lunatic. He's crazy. He's a bully. He's insane. But he's going to fight that evil liberal, those evil liberals. So shh. Support him. So when people begin to believe everything is at stake, ethical compromise feels necessary. Hey, a little ethical compromise is worth it because the man coming down the escalator is going to fight for us. We got it. I think another problem is Christianity was already fused with political identity. Long before Trump came down the escalator, much of American evangelicalism had become Republican equals Christian, Democrat equals democrat, Democrat equals the enemy of God. So when Trump emerged as the Republican champion, criticizing him felt like you're betraying Christianity itself. He's a Republican. It's better than the demons. Moral discernment collapsed into tribal loyalty. You go with Republicans. They are Christian. Democrats are demons. So this explains why moral failures that would have disqualified any person was just seen as irrelevant, or may even be praised as strength. Any other political candidate would have been destroyed with the things Trump has said and done. They would have been finished. And any other time in history, that would have been done if Trump just says them out loud. And people are like, oh, well, it's okay. I don't always agree with what he says, but come on, Trump. Come on, Trump. Okay, all right, well, any other person would be like, well, ladies and gentlemen, at 5 o'clock, that political candidate will be announcing that they are stepping down from everything and they're moving to an island somewhere in the South Pacific to never be heard from again because no one can say and do these things and survive unless your name is Donald Trump and the Christian church supports you. And remember, Trump is not in office if it's not for 80 to 90% of Christians putting him there. Trump problem is a Christian problem because Christians putting him there. I think a third problem was power was mistaken for righteousness. See, biblically, power is always kind of morally ambiguous. God rules without endorsing them. Strength does not always equal virtue. But American evangelical culture started kind of talking that winning equals God's blessing and losing equals judgment or faithlessness. So Trump looked powerful, aggressive, dominant, unapologetic, and successful. And these traits were rebranded as aggressive is bold, dominant is courage, unapologetic. Well, he's like David versus Goliath. Yeah, never mind. Okay. And then he somehow is anointed leadership. And then ultimately, the church ended up, because of fear, selective morality. Evangelical moral outrage narrowed to a few issues. What are we upset about? Abortion. That's it. That's all we care about. LGBTQ+, that's what we have to fight, okay? Even though they may make up a very small portion of the society, that's the battle line. Books in a library, religious liberty. Now, meanwhile, Scripture repeatedly warns against pride, lying, cruel speech, boasting, contempt for the weak, not caring for the weak, not loving your enemies. But these are kind of like, well, we don't care about those anymore. So it created kind of a two-tier morality system. Our sins are just understandable flaws, but their sins, the sins of the liberals, they are civilization-ending evil, and the witches must be killed. But our sins are not so bad. Let's not worry about what the church is doing. No, it's those drag queens. They're the ones molesting children. Let's forget about how many children are molested in the church. No. We're not going to worry about that. It's always them, never us. And so we need someone to fight them because we are the good guys. And then ultimately, silence was institutionally rewarded. Many pastors knew better. Stay quiet. Why? Donors were threatened to leave. Churches will split over politics. Elders fear conflict. And platforms, conferences, and networks would punish dissent. You're not going to get to go speak at a conference. You're not going to be platformed unless you follow the party line. And that's true in Christianity. I know that. You don't follow the party line, they kick you off Christian radio. I mean, I try to be very careful, like, when am I going to get kicked off this platform or this platform? Because you got to follow the party line. So guess what? If you're silenced, that's financially safer. You're going to be institutionally rewarded. And it's over time, it's self-preservation replaces prophetic responsibility. And I think Trump, in a way, mirrored something already present. And this may be hard to say, but I think it's crucial. Trump didn't just attract evangelicals. Maybe he reflected evangelicals. Maybe evangelicals had maybe his rhetoric, maybe the things Trump would say, it echoed the long-standing grievances that evangelicals felt. Somehow his rhetoric echoed evangelicals' resentment towards elites, even though I don't know how you wouldn't see Trump as elite. All of his money, okay. Evangelicals have suspicion of outsiders, and Trump echoed that. And evangelicals started desiring to win at all costs, and Trump echoed that. So maybe in a way, defending Trump was evangelicals defending themselves. And maybe if we criticize Trump, we're criticizing ourselves. And maybe if we call Trump immoral, we're calling ourselves immoral. So maybe it's better to be quiet. And maybe another reason all of this happened is because law and gospel had completely collapsed. The distinction between law and gospel collapsed. Many evangelicals apply the law harshly to their enemies, apply grace selectively to their allies, and they forget how the law first is supposed to condemn us. And they forget that the gospel does not excuse ongoing unrepentant public sin. So Trump received somehow endless grace, didn't need repentance, no accountability, and no call for humility or any kind of restraint or humanity. Okay. American evangelical silence and support happened because fear replaced faith, power replaced virtue, identity replaced theology, institutions replaced conscience, and tribal loyalty replaced moral clarity. Trump did not corrupt evangelicalism. Trump exposed what was already in evangelicalism. So to do a video and say pastors did not speak against Trump simply because of money is majorly oversimplified. There are countless issues going on here, from why they didn't speak out to why Trump could be one of the most anti-Christian in his actions and words that I don't even know. I mean, it's insane how messed up it is, and why the church supports him at between 80 to 92, 93%. I don't get it. I never will. I'll never understand it. But it's always like, because of his policies, because of his policies. So you care more about policies than theology. And you think policies are going to fix the problems? Well, then you've abandoned the spiritual problem. And if you think things can be, give me a break. Now, I mean, I could go on all day, but then I'll get into politics, which I don't want to do. I will always say Trump was given as a test to the evangelical church. And that test wasn't for God to know. It was for us to see ourselves. How will we respond when the world turns against Christianity, when the world walks further and further away, when we wake up one day in a post-Christian America? Are we going to stay faithful to Christ and we're going to fight this post-Christian America, or not fight, are we going to stand against this post-Christian America with prayer, fasting, loving our enemy, turning the other cheek, being godly, being hopefully humble and righteous, or are we going to fight it by political means? And the church says, forget this. We're in post-Christian America. Forget prayer, fasting, forget, no, we'll still do some of that, but we need a political hero. We need a political ally who will defeat the darkness. And if you think it can be defeated by political battles, well, feel good. You've got some victories. Feel good about it. If you think you changed any hearts, if you think that this somehow got rid of the depraved nature, you're out of your ever-living mind. All you're going to see is pushback, maybe some behavioral modification because they have no choice. They don't want to get, locked into prison and punished by the political party in power. But sooner or later, Trump and his political power will be diminished. It will go away. MAGA will ultimately be defeated at the ballot box. And when it does, the backlash is going to be swift, it's going to be severe, and it's going to be strong. And then you're going to whine and cry that you're being persecuted because you got involved in a political battle. And you get involved in a political battle, you win some battles, and then you lose some battles. But we're not supposed to be in a stupid political battle. What we're supposed to be doing is no matter how dark it gets, we're supposed to be responding with loving your enemy, turning the other cheek, being humble, being godly, blessing those that persecute us. I don't know. We're given actual scripture and what to do. And Jesus didn't say, go win the battle at the ballot box. There was none of that. The early church died as martyrs, loving their enemy, blessing them that cursed them. Not calling them demoncrats and libtards and all the other ridiculous things Christians like to say about their political opponents. Now, I know what you're going to say, but those on the left, they're mean and they're ungodly too. Many of them on the left don't even claim any allegiance to Christianity, and whatever Christianity typically shows up on the left is typically very much denies things like the inspiration of Scripture and the deity of Christ. So in many cases, they're outside of even Christianity. So don't worry about what the non-Christians are doing. We're supposed to be worrying what we're doing as Christians. It's the Christian response. And the Christian response is, defeat them. Come on, Trump. Be the bully we want. Hate them. Call them names. Lie. Give us conspiracy theories. Give us some QAnon conspiracy theories. Come on, tell us there's a satanic cabal of pedophiles ruling the world, and Trump is here to defeat that cabal of pedophiles until he possibly is named in the Epstein files. And he's like, wait a minute. Not going to release these. No. No, it's all a hoax. Wait, I thought you constantly told everyone how you were going to release the files and expose them and bring down this ring of pedophiles until you get in office. And then you're like, no. And then reluctantly, and now you're bothered by the way it's all been handled. Oh, give me a break. You create the conspiracy, and then when the conspiracy comes back to backfire on you, then you've denied that the conspiracy ever existed that you helped create. Oh, whole thing is maddening. And Christians eat up the conspiracies. They eat up the misinformation. They eat up the lies. And they spend more time spreading that garbage than they do actually studying anything biblical or theological. The church has been politically hijacked. It's compromised. And look, we're about to go into 2026. Hang on. We got midterm elections coming up November 2026. I don't even want to be around. Find me a way off this stinking planet. And the last place I want to be is inside a church. Hear more nonsense. I don't want to be around it at all. There's no answers. There's no hope. There's no solutions in any of that. It's just political power. And political power is politicians pick ideologies to support and defend to get themselves elected so they get power and they get money. And you can make all the excuses for Trump. We can look at all the money he's made in different ways since being in office. He's found a way to use it for his own advancement just like everyone else does. He may have done things somewhat differently by not taking this or not taking that, but trust me, it's worked out well. Politics by its very nature is self-serving. Pick a group of people. Oh, okay, what do they want? I'm going to be their champion. They will vote for me. When they vote for me, then I get power and I get position. Will it actually help the people? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't really matter. I got the power and the position. Now, I will come back with more promises when it's time for re-election. In the meantime, the churches, forget all of that. All right. Okay, well, that should make me popular. All right, thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day. It's now 4:32 p.m. I've gone 70 minutes. See what happens? Someone sent me one little link, and I needed to spend 70 minutes covering I got other things to do. All right, what are you guys trying to do? You're trying to kill me. You're trying to drive me to drinking. I know it's a conspiracy. All right. Thank you for listening. I do not need your vote. Good thing, because I would tick you off and I would not get your vote. All right. But I do appreciate you listening. All right. And yeah, I've tried to cover it from every perspective possible. God bless.